Hey, Jason, what's Baby Yoda's favorite nighttime story?
What is it? I don't know.
Good night. That's no moon.
Hashtag dad jokes.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Why does the Mandalorian never take off his helmet?
This is the way.
Baby Yoda's stinky diapers.
Oh, I wish I had those.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
How many Sith Lords does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
None, because they prefer the dark side.
The
last one. Hey,
yes.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
What Star Wars character's really good at mini golf?
I'm not sure.
Jabba the Putt.
No.
This is the way.
We wanted men.
I have spoken.
Closed my window and then a bird just like landed right on the ledge outside. So,
well, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing I closed it because they don't care I'm recording this morning.
They're like tweet, 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 tweet.
Yeah, this is not Twitter.
Right. You got a Snow White thing going, right?
Yeah, it just wants to land on my finger and start singing me a song, and I just want to. If you're not a monkey lizard, just get the hell away from me. You're not gonna hang out on me.
So this is what, episode 28, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, guess what the week it is? Guess what next weekend is?
Toylanta.
Toylanta.
Finally here.
Finally, and this is your first one, so I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah, I'm too. I'll be busy.
It'll be a busy week. We got the club and we got a raffle going for that, and you'll just walk around in awe, man. I hope you enjoy it because it's always been a fun show for me. I mean, you never know what you're going to get year to year, but I've always enjoyed being around the people of Toylanta, so I hope you enjoy it, man.
Sure, I will. I'm going to record things for the Georgia Alliance YouTube channel. I'm going to try to record something for my own YouTube channel. I'm going to try to record the panel that I guess I'm helping with.
Yeah. Yeah, because normally it's me and Justin that do it, me, Justin, and Ryan, but because Justin with COVID, he's trying to stay away from mass gatherings, so he's not going to be able to join us this year. So it's nice having another person in there, and you made a panel slide for it, so I'm gonna let you present it, and
it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's always I enjoy it. It is a little nerve-wracking doing a panel because you're in front of, I don't know, 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
No, but we always have good.
There's more people on the panel than there is in the audience.
The last couple of panels we've had, we've had a pretty decent turnout. So, we'll have a full room, but we'll see what they're doing this year.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I was listening to David Quinn's podcast, and he was talking about how he went to a toy show and there was just a line out the door because they were, you can only allow so many people in at a time. So I'm kind of curious if they're going to do that, or is it just going to be a free for all, or it'll be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah.
So you had a pretty fun night on Deal or No Deal, man.
I'm taking a break from Deal or No Deal. I'm just going to put that out there right now. No, in all honesty, I'm taking a break for a couple months. Anything that comes up, Micro Machines, I'm sorry, there's got to be somebody else besides me that wants it. Deal or No Deal is fun. It triggers that need to collect and hunt and find and beat and win and all that fun stuff wrapped into one. But I think a cardinal just landed outside my window. But I just last night I picked up, which was pretty cool. There was collector sets. I think there's like 60,000 of them made, so it's not really that limited, I would say. But it's a fan. What was it? It was like a fan exclusive with Darth Vader and a Star Destroyer. It's just Micro Machines, but this is a sampler pack. Each piece is numbered, and I have one already that's numbered, but this is the sample pack, and it doesn't have anything. It doesn't have a number on it. It's just blank of like 60,000. Also comes with a sample mailer, so this is like a sample set, which is pretty cool. I picked that up, and then there's a Micro Machines also made transforming play sets that looked like things that you could use. So it's actually Darth Vader's lightsaber closed up, and then you would open it up, and it'd be a play set. And this is the box that has all of the what do you call it? The changes that they wanted to make, or it was the approval process,
right?
The QC process.
Yeah, or I know it's not Kenner that puts them out, but they would call them Kenner standards. They have a green card on them.
Yeah, which changed into Hasbro standards at some point, but it's the same kind of thing, and it's got some markings on the back. So I plan on displaying the box with the actual play set that I have.
Yeah, that one I was actually kind of jealous of because I it's one of my goals to have a Kenner standard, Hasbro standard, whatever, that style box with the card on it. I just haven't haven't found one I want to spend the money on yet.
Yep. So that's what I picked up on Deal or No Deal. Don't have it yet. I mean, it was just last night, so it'll be a week or so before I actually get that in hand.
When I saw you bid on those two, I was like, his stimulus check must have hit.
No, we were just being cautious and careful because, I mean, we don't have the money in hand, but it is coming.
Right.
But I don't want to blow all of that on Deal or No Deal, which you could easily get wrapped up in doing.
God.
So I'm taking a break, and probably until May. You know, we got Toylanta, and I don't plan on getting anything. I plan on just absorbing and recording and doing a lot of AV stuff, and going to ICCC, which I'm pleased to say I should be fully vaccinated for because I already had my first shot. I got
That's
the Pfizer
awesome.
shot this week. So that's just one less thing I have to worry about at ICCC, though I will still be wearing my mask and stuff.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. I don't know what the regulations are. I know from what they said is if you have vaccinated people, they can get together without masks. So, but I guess
I plan on double masking still and being safe and all that.
Gotcha.
But enough about me. What's new in the Glenverse?
Not a whole lot. I'm waiting for a ghost print to come from Hero Field. That should be here today. And my wife discovered Makari, found these. It was an Ahsoka and a Mandalorian crocheted, hand done crocheted little figures that stand about 6 foot tall. And those came in last night, and those are pretty cool. But yeah,
so what is Makari? Is it like Etsy?
No, it's. I guess it could be like Etsy, or it's like Offer Up, or Let Go. It's one of those apps where people. It's like an eBay, even eBay. People throw up what they want. Throw up what they're selling. You don't really bid on it, but you can like it, and then if it sits for too long, they can send you an offer. You can send them offers.
Oh.
Stuff like that. I don't know. But anyway, my wife just sent me something. I'm trying to keep my I'm trying to keep my phone on because I got a guy coming by to take my fence, and I don't want to take down the fence, and I don't want to miss the notification. But anyway, I probably should mute it. Anyway, long story short, it's sort of like a eBay where you could follow items, you like them, and then they'll send you deals. The longer they're out, the more they could cheaper they can get. And you can get some pretty good deals on them. And then you got to pay it kind of protects because everything's done through Makari, the transaction. So the seller, has to pay Makari a percentage, but then you have the protection as a buyer because they don't get the money until you get the product and, gotcha. Rate it and everything. So there's a little bit more protection, as a buyer. So it's a cool app. I found out about it a couple of years ago and kind of got soaked into it. I've sold a couple of things and bought a couple of things, but as a seller, you do have to realize that, you're going to pay a percentage to Makari, just because of that service.
Speaking of eBay,
What you get?
I was doing some research for a future episode and also the panel that we were just talking about for Toylanta, and I came across some Micro Machines. It's the Bounty Hunter playset, not the playset. It's the little figurine pack. So the minifigures, but it's just all bounty hunters with like Bosk and IG-88 and Forlom. And it mentioned a couple weeks ago that somebody wanted $75 for it, but I didn't get it for that. I got it for less than half of that.
Nice.
So that's the only thing I picked up this week. And I have that in hand. It also has Chewbacca as the bounty hunter from Shadows of the Empire.
Huh.
Was it like Snuka, something like that?
I don't remember.
Yeah. But that's part of the set, which is kind of interesting. That was such a big push. It's just tough to believe that the whole thing was just swept under the rug and be like, no, Shadows of the Empire didn't happen. Just the amount of resources and the energy, creating a soundtrack for the book, a video game, action figures. There's like everything but the movie. But in the end, they're like, no, that didn't really happen.
Yeah. That's what happens when you undo the canons.
Oh, all the cannons are gone.
Yeah. But, oh well. Trying to think what else. I did get my Galactic Heroes prototype in. That came in like right after we got done. It came in
Your Kit
Monday.
Fisto.
Kit Fisto, yeah. That came in on Monday.
What were the colors on it?
It's a green and tan. It's almost the same. I thought it might have been the same shade as my Hera, but it's a couple of shades off. That's awesome. And then his lightsaber, the hand that's holding his lightsaber is translucent because that would be the color of the lightsaber. So that whole hand is one big color.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I'm kind of holding out for Toyland. I've seen a lot of stuff on Deal or No Deal. And yeah, I know that, the stimulus check will be here before Toylanta. So, maybe the wife will let me spend a little bit of it at Toylanta and IC, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Trying to think. I don't think anything else exciting.
I did hit up Ollie's because I went up to Cartersville for the vaccine.
Uh-huh.
And they had Ollie's up there, so I wanted to see if they had the vintage collection because some of the Ollie's have been getting the wave with Anakin and the TIE Fighter pilot and stuff like that. But all I saw were Revel models. They still had like Rogue One models. They had Solo models, the Last Jedi models. They had the Forces of Destiny staff, Rey staff.
Mm-hmm.
They still had a Kanan from Jack's Pacific.
Is that the 12-inch one?
Yeah, I think it might be 18. It feels a little bit taller than 12 inches, but yeah, it's that same one. It's just crazy that they still have Rebel stuff on their shelves.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that in a future episode, but Rebel stuff, thanks to Ahsoka showing up in the Mandalorian, has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm rewatching because we are planning on doing a Rebels show here in the next couple of weeks. So I've been rewatching for the third time Rebels, and I'm picking and choosing what I watch. And oh my God, it's so much. The third go round, and now that you're able to pick and choose, I want to watch these episodes, and you kind of you can go with the standalone episodes and the episodes that mean stuff, and it means so much more. I was watching the Darksaber one this morning, and yeah. Oh my gosh. Where Sabine's training with it. And yeah, it's such a good show. I don't want to get into it, but yes.
Yeah, we'll get into it eventually.
I don't want to ruin it.
Do you have any news?
Shoot, I don't think I got any news.
I got tons. Bob Chapek was talking this week about Kathleen Kennedy, and it just I don't have his exact quote, but it does sound like she's staying on, that he's looking forward to working with her in the future. I'm not a Kathleen Kennedy hater because for all the crap she gets for the sequel trilogy, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, she deserves all the love for Rogue One, Solo, and The Mandalorian because she's responsible for the good stuff just as much as she is for the bad stuff.
I think she's done a good job, like you said. You can't argue with the leaps and bounds that Star Wars has come in the past, 5 or 6 years.
Has it been that long?
I think so. But if you think about it, there's been 5 movies?
Yes.
So
5 movies. 6th on the way, Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Which I'm very interested in seeing. Some of my favorite scenes from all the movies that they've done so far is Rogue One, the X-Wing scenes at the end. I don't know.
what I really enjoyed about that scene, because you're talking about the battles and everything.
Yeah.
Seeing all those ships bounce off the shield.
Yeah.
Was just incredible.
It was awesome.
It was stuff that you've been waiting like 40 years to see. You're like, how does the shield work? And you see the ships like bouncing off of it like it's hitting a water or something.
And then they went back. Like, the thing that gives me goosebumps, they went back to the original A New Hope, found some unused footage of Gold Leader and what's the other one from the original movie,
right?
And then they spliced it back in.
Yeah.
And they made it look like, no, this is just right before. They, like, of course they're still part of it. And I don't know. It gives me the chills to even think about like the connectivity.
Yeah. They've done it. Rogue One, like, yeah, that's my best Disney era movie. Rogue One.
The Vintage Collection pre-orders from Walmart will go live on Monday at 1 p.m. I don't know what time you're listening to this. Could be too late. But that's the Paploo, the Endor Leia, and the AT-ST pilot driver. I'm not sure which one he's called. There was a snafu at one point. I don't know which one's right. There was a Black Series AT-AT driver, but then they also changed the pilot, so who knows. But that goes live on Monday for the pre-orders, so I'm sure that'll be sold out in 2 minutes.
Of course.
It'll be interesting to see what Hasbro does, because they have an exclusive channel now or something like that where it looks like you can pre-order some of that stuff. I don't know if that's just for Hasbro Pulse memberships or what. So it'll be a learning curve, I guess, for all of us. And in a couple of weeks when we re-record again, I'll kind of report back on what I experienced.
Awesome.
Lucasfilm was set to release a visual dictionary for The Mandalorian and a original novel, but that has been canceled due to the ever-expanding world of The Mandalorian, which is kind of interesting. I don't know what that means.
I think that means they're still developing it. I mean,
the world is probably changing too much where it's just dated.
Because I know some of those visual dictionaries, they don't want to release a whole lot because it's such a you got to have so much lead time in the process. So they, they don't want to put a whole lot in the book. And then all of a sudden, all these things come out in the movie or in the TV show that, they were keeping secret, but now they have to put in the book, or, maybe with Cara Dune not being, or Gina Guerrero not being in it, they need to change it all up.
I get why the original novel might be canceled, because they're making this whole big epic tale with the Rangers and the Ahsoka show, and so maybe they just didn't want to introduce a fourth element, this original book that might conflict with things. So who knows? Maybe everything's just in flux right now.
It could be.
Benedict Cumberbatch spoke with Collider about being Thrawn.
Yeah, I saw that, and you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah. His exact quote was, he's talking about taking on the role of Thrawn because I think he'd be great, but he kind of played the same character as Khan in Star Trek, so it'd just be too familiar ground, I guess. Mm-hmm. But his quote was, "That's a straight no for me right now. There's no way I want to be turned blue. I turned the air blue very recently." No, seriously. I don't know if the joke works with me repeating it. I turned the air blue very recently. No, seriously. I have precious time with my children, and I think sitting in a makeup chair and being painted blue and the amount of time it would take to do that and then take it off at the end of the day it's just not the right time for my life for that. Because there'd be more than just being painted blue. There's prosthetics, because he's got a more pronounced brow and his cheeks are a little bit, Cumberbatch has defined cheeks, so who knows, but he doesn't want to do it, so he's out.
Right.
And then
back to Lars.
Yeah, back to Lars. Was that official? No, it's not.
No,
official.
nothing's never been official yet.
It's just a rumor, which would be great because he did the voice and he did a great job as it. Andy Serkis is promoting a new movie called SAS Red Notice, and he said he had a faint idea of what Snoke was. He said it was very much under wraps, but I had an inkling, but it was not confirmed. So I think he's talking about that there was some sort of connectivity between Snoke and the Emperor. It was strongly hinted with the music of Force Awakens. There was that kind of Emperor music.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, he had an inkling. So I guess that's that. which I don't know. It's tough to take the word on. I'm struggling with him saying that he kind of had an inkling when there was no evidence that the Emperor was back at all throughout the first two movies.
Right.
And so, I mean, you could have an inkling that they're doing a Marvel crossover or something like that. It's just, there's no facts or anything like to support it. So it's just pulling stuff out of the thin air. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know if it's true. Forget me.
Would he even have known there wouldn't have been any music playing when he's acting unless he's talking about when he saw the movie.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull something to say about it, and I guess my brain's gonna like just skip on to the next article. Maybe that's all there is.
How much coffee did you have?
I'm let's see, 2.5 in.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I'm doing good here.
Awesome.
And then the last thing that I have, it's not anything completely Star Wars related, but there was a New York Times article on March 6th, which spoke about global shipping issues and how there's boats just backed up waiting to come into ports. There's empty containers that have been stuck in Australia and New Zealand, basically because we're living in the pandemic and nobody's going out. Everybody wants things shipped, which has increased demand in China for products to be made and then shipped over to the United States. I mean, I know people who've waited months for couches because they just can't get it to the United States in time. Like you buy a couch and then you have to wait 6 or 7 months to get it.
That's when we bought new couches and it was like 4 months.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's going on. Ships are waiting weeks to be unloaded. Everything's backed up because of the pandemic. Orders have surged because, again, of the pandemic. The pandemic itself has taken its toll on people who work at the ports. So there's just not a lot of people to unload the ships. Some ships have even run out of spots to drop anchor as they wait to come into port. What they're called drift boxes, meaning there's just an area out in sea, it's probably the shape of a box, that says you can just drift at sea right here. And then, if you need to, just power up the motor and move back into the drift box. But that's exactly where you're going to have to wait before you can come in. Hasbro was named in the article because they've been dealing with the bottleneck that's been caused because of the shipping stuff, which is part of the reason why if you go to Target, I was going to say Hallmark. If you go to Target or Walmart, you're not going to see anything on the shelves. And it's not just Star Wars. It's pretty much all of the toy aisle is pretty sparse.
Yeah.
And it's going to stay that way for a while. This is the first time something like this has happened. So there's no way to firmly determine this is going to last until, blank date. But they think midsummer might be the time where things start to, the pressure starts to alleviate a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. When you said Walmart, you jogged my memory. I did pick up a Moth Gideon at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, or not a few days. Yeah, Black Series Moth Gideon earlier in the week, and they had a couple of the armor. They had the Carl Weathers. Yeah. They had him, but nobody else. No, is Bo-Katan supposed to be in that run?
No, Bo-Katan is in the next run.
Okay.
And I did see the Bad Batch characters coming out like on Facebook Marketplace. People are trying to sell those, so they are slowly trickling out. So we'll have to wait and see what's what.
Awesome. And we do have some podcast news, or that I want to share because I think it's awesome, and we were talking about it. But we had our first episode hit 100 listens. So, so thank you. It's a cool moment for the podcast. So thank you everybody that listens.
Yeah, and we plan on making more of those pricing kind of shows, because if that's what's resonating and people are enjoying that, we're going to do more of it. So that's part of the reason why I was on eBay, was researching the next dollar price kind of show. I don't know what I'm saying. Hold on, more coffee.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks, or actually fun through the end of the month, or actually through April, because we've got Toylanta coming up. Then we got spring break, and then we got IC after spring break. So there's like 4 weeks worth of shows we've already got planned.
We have a We might have a club event coming up too.
Yeah. I wonder who's going to host that.
Hashtag tease. Be a very limited event. And we'll release more information in a month or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, fixing up the backyard.
Awesome. That'll be fun.
Speaking of all these toy shows, you know, I have a box of extra Black Series stuff. Is that something I should bring to Toylanta?
I would. Well, I mean, are you planning on hanging out late? Not late, but late on Saturday night? Are you going to try to make it to the room sale?
Yeah, I pretty much told my wife that from like 10 to 8 that day I'll be at Toylanta. I might take a break to come home because it's only 20 minutes away to get lunch, but count me out for Saturday.
My wife already knows Friday night, that whole weekend is Toylanta.
Friday night's my wife's birthday, so I'm home Friday. Saturday I'm going to do that. Sunday is probably going to be another family day, so if she wants to do more for her birthday.
Oh, you got to make time for the kid for the wife, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to be hosting, or the club will be hosting a room sale Saturday night starting at like 7. So if you've got anything, bring a tote, and you got to think, I have to do this disclaimer because Toylanta gets mad at me if I don't say it. You need to have a late night badge to get into the room sale. So,
oh really?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. We'll fake your way in. We'll say, yeah, he's with me.
Okay. There's a back door. I'm part of catering.
Yes.
I'm catering. Would you like an hors d'oeuvre?
Yes,
get
please.
In that room and give people hors d'oeuvre. Right.
But and then we're doing a panel, I think at 1:30 on Saturday, and then we'll have the club table set up. So if you see us, say hi. We'll high five you. Buy a club ticket. Buy a raffle ticket.
You'll high five people. I'll give them a elbow bump.
Elbow bump, yeah. It depends on how many people want to high five me. So
maybe I'll do it like The Office and just air high five.
There you go. But yeah, I think that's it, man. As far as news goes and weeks, and it's yeah. So I don't want to get into too much because for the listeners this might be confusing. Last week we recorded 2 episodes, one about prototype. No, that's today. One about what did we talk about last week? We talked about grading and
then displaying.
Displaying, right.
So after the displaying episode, I went back and changed my display based on our discussion. So I did go out to the Container Store and they have like acrylic risers. So I created some platforms basically in my Detolf IKEA display and added all my micro machines in there. So it's just creating space in that. I mean, micro machines are just teeny tiny. So to have a whole shelf to that, and then, you know, you have like 1 inch of micro machines and then 12 inches of empty space. So with those acrylic risers, I was able to create some dimension and then put the micro machines in sort of like a tiered look, if you will. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I did this week.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into it too much because it's next week's episode.
Well, I do want to get into, since we're talking about, let's just go into it because I want to talk about your we can kind of use your pickup as a springboard to everything, because you got your hard copy Emperor.
Yep.
What is it called? Your hard copy micro machines or micro collection, whatever.
Yeah, it's the Emperor's Royal Guard transforming playset.
There you go. You got
so it
that.
Is the Emperor Royal Guard. It folds open and becomes the Death Star.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all the detailed pictures you were sending in the group chat of that, and definitely the thing that struck me, you had said the details, just the little minute details, but I love the background, how it was cardboard versus all the stickers.
So that was one of the first things I noticed, was that it looked like somebody had printed out the stickers on a printer, not like a peel and stick kind of sticker. It's like on a sheet of paper. And then you can actually see the edge of the paper where it almost looked like they took a straight edge and cut the sticker off and then taped it or glued it. I don't want to mess with it too much to peel back and see what's underneath it, but it does look like they applied it by like tape or glue or something like that. So it's not a sticker in the sense that in the production version. And then in Glenn's kind of talking about it, it comes with the Imperial shuttle, which is the shuttle that kind of the wings fold up and then they fold down. And the thing that really stuck out to me is that this version has a lot more detail than the production version. The production version, the detail is a lot softer. The edges are more round, whereas the production version, they're very sharp edges. And it feels like a different kind of, I don't know if it's a different kind of resin or what, but yeah. And then the bottom of the Imperial shuttle, it doesn't have the markings, the Lucasfilm markings of the 96, the year that it came out and all that stuff. It's pretty cool because it doesn't have that. And it's got actually more detail on the bottom. Yeah. I mean, like how in depth in detail do you want me to go? Because I don't want to bore the hell out of people, but there's so much more cool stuff. I guess I have a strong passion for this.
Okay. The reason why I had Jason bring that up is because we're talking about pre-production stuff today. And that it brought a lot of stuff to my attention and jogged my memory a lot, seeing his excitement about it and all the detailed pictures he sent and was able to compare, here's a pre-production piece versus the production piece. And we just want to talk, our experience with pre-production stuff, why we collect pre-production stuff, kind of bring Jason, Jason can talk about his journey into pre-production as far as, the micro collection or micro machines go. They just kind of go from there. I don't know about a history of pre-production stuff, but, crap, hold on. I'm trying to get to my notes. I don't know about, there's not really a history of pre-production stuff. And I don't know if you've got anything to add to this, Jason. But it's just sort of.
No, I mean.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. We're so unorganized today. No, you go. You lead the conversation here.
Pre-production, after you've done all your 90, you got a 92 run as a okay, hold on. Pre-production, at least in my mind, makes sense to a lot of collectors because you can only go so far in the vintage stuff. You do your 92 run, you collect all the ships. You can go after variants and you can go after, like a DT Luke. You can go get a orange hair Luke or brown haired Luke, but you're going to pay a lot of money for those. And for, a little bit better value, quote unquote, you could start getting into pre-production stuff. Of course, it's got to be the more modern stuff. And to clarify, when we say modern, we mean 90s and up. So Power of the Force 2 and up is modern, even though I hate saying this, 30 years old, because I graduated in 93 and that was last week, right? Not 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and it throws a lot of people off because we call them modern, even though technically it's antiques, but that's just the way we break stuff up in the Star Wars collecting terms. Modern is anything from the early 90s on to today. That's what we consider not modern. And the 70, 82 and newer and older is the vintage stuff. Because then when they stop, Return of the Jedi and older is the vintage stuff because they stopped making that early 80s.
So it's like 77 to 1985.
Okay, there you go. So like from 85 to 85, 77 to 85 is what we consider vintage. And in my mind, that's sort of the next logical step is started to collect the pre-production stuff. And the reason is it's just cool stuff. You've got the cool colors. Like Jason was saying on his earlier, you see stuff in a pre-production piece that you may not see in a production piece as far as the detail goes, because, what Jason basically has is like one step before they make the production pieces. So what Jason, I'm jumping around a lot and I'm sorry. And we're organized, but disorganized, but I think that's why people love us. There's a podcast. If you want to get really into this, there's a podcast called Prototypes and Productions and Pre-Production. It's by David Quinn. Look it up. He does like a 3-episode run on this. It starts with episode number 22 and kind of bounces, he'll do an episode and he goes back to it. So it stretches about a month or two worth of podcast time. But Prototypes and Productions, it's David Quinn pretty much everywhere. I'm going to steal something from him, but I'm giving him credit, so I'm not really stealing it. He has a simple way of when a piece is produced, how it's produced, and where you can kind of, get the hard, a mold versus a hard copy versus a production piece. He takes it as it's a 5-step process. So you start with a figure, which is normally a wax mold or a wax sculpt, which is where people sculpt it, physically sculpt the first run of the figure. And, it could change from that. So when they get that wax right, they'll do a mold of it. Then they take that mold and they make a hard copy, which is what Jason picked up as his play set. And that's why the details are very crisp, and there's not a copyright on it or anything, because it's the next step in the process. And then what they'll do is they'll take those figures, once they get them right, they'll make another mold of it, and then you get your production pieces. So then you'll get a first shot, which is not a hard copy, would come from the middle run, and a first shot would come from the last mold. And that's when they're doing the final test, where they'll do a first shot. You have they'll basically, they take wax and pour it into the mold to make sure everything's right. And you'll get some crazy colors in that, because they just use whatever's there. Whatever's in the whatever wax they have, or whatever plastic they have ready to go. So you can get a Darth Vader that's green, that's lime green, and lime green and orange with a black cape, or a bright red cape. So you get some crazy colors when it comes to hard copies.
My favorite is the Darth Vader,
Yes.
the diaper Darth Vader,
where
he's got like diaper in his torso is white, but the rest of him is black.
Right. So you
That's
get
one of
some
my favorite.
Yeah, you get crazy, and like the Jason was talking about the Irish Han Solo. It's a green Han Solo because that's what they had in the process. And then at one point in that process, they will put the copyright stuff on it. When they get it right, they'll do a copyright, and then you get another first shot to make sure everything looks good. So sometimes you'll get a first shot with a copyright, you get some without a copyright. The one without a copyright's a little bit more desirable, because there's not as much, not as many produced, versus one with a copyright on it. I like collecting prototypes because I like having like pieces that I know only like 5 or 6 people have or less, having their collection. And it's kind of a cool story. You could say, yeah, I'm one of, there's only like 5 of these out there. And, or you could, and you get to see the process of, it starts from point A and ends at point, D or E, and you can see how the toys are made. And it's just a really, really cool to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't write scripts here at Smuggler's Galaxy Podcast.
We don't. It's all live on the top of our head, for better or for worse. For the longest time, I thought prototype collecting was impossible. I thought you needed to know somebody at Hasbro who slipped you something, you pay $1, but they're more available than I realized. You just need to be in the right place at the right time, talking to the right person, or being on no deal, or like you go to a toy show. Apparently, they're out there.
Yeah, I've found some at toy shows. I bought some at Toylanta, though. There was only one guy, and he had a couple of them. But you can go to like the Cincinnati Toy Show. That happens either once or twice a year. And apparently there's a bunch of them available there, and it goes back to vintage stuff. And, like a vintage piece, you're going to pay thousands of dollars for, whereas a modern piece, you could pay hundreds of dollars for. And I've seen stuff go, a Black Series, like a Black Series Kanan, go for $100, prototype or first shot. So it varies on pricing. Some of the Galactic Heroes stuff I can pick up for under $20, and I've got a bunch of them because they're cheap and they're easy to come. Not easy, yeah, they're kind of easy to come by as long as you know where to go.
Yeah, when you mention dollars, I mean the vintage stuff can go from anywhere between $20,000 to like $100,000, and probably even more depending on the rarity of the item.
Right.
But the modern stuff, you're talking between 20 to, I mean, if it's an Ahsoka, you're looking at thousands there too, like $4,000. So as you were kind of mentioning the whole process of going from start to finish, creating a prototype to production, when you start making molds and remolding and then developing a new figure and remolding that, you're going to lose detail, right?
Yes.
So it's probably part of the reason why some of the pieces that I have a lot of detail, and the production pieces are kind of softer and rounder.
Right. And they'll mold it to have more detail, knowing that, they've got to, they're knowing that they're doing a mold of it, and then you're going to lose the details along the way.
And they can make adjustments, right? So if they're on stage 2, right? They made their wax version, they've got their hard copy, and they don't like something, they can make a change at some point in the next step, right?
Correct.
Because I think that's what they did with, going back to my prototype. The Emperor is sitting on the throne, and he's got the blue lightning, but it looks like it's a completely different Emperor in the production version. It doesn't look like it's lost detail. It looks like they've kind of narrowed him in a little bit, and they've changed things. I would imagine because they decided not to paint the blue lightning that they've decided to change the sculpt, but it does look like it's completely different than the production version.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And that's one thing I do like, when I do find a prototype, if I can buy the production version, I like having them and comparing them, because I've got a 2-up Action Master Fett, Boba Fett, and I compare it to the production, and you could see that they've changed stuff around, and it's just not, the angles it's a lot softer, the production version versus the 2-up. And I guess one thing I need to say, like I said, we're jumping around like frogs on a hot skillet right now, but when we say pre-production, it's sort of our prototype or pre-production. It's sort of like an umbrella. It refers to everything. So everybody refers to that stuff as, prototype or pre-production. So just a FYI. What was your first piece? Pre-production.
My first piece was Micro Machines, believe it or not. There was like a set of maybe 4 or 5. It was Han Solo as a stormtrooper, but that piece is white, and it feels like a different kind of plastic. It doesn't feel like the production version. So I would imagine that's more of a hard copy or a first shot than a prototype or unpainted, because I do have some unpainted ones. I also have the same thing with the stormtrooper. I have, I think, a test shot, which is white in a different plastic, and then I have gray versions that are unpainted, which are probably more closer to production than the other piece. So those are my first. And awesome. That just made sense, as somebody who's got a passion for Micro Machines. And you look at all the prototypes available, it's like, what do I care about? What do I want to own? I don't want to just own just to have. I want it to have meaning. If I'm going to spend the money to get a prototype, I want it to have meaning. To me, right. I guess.
No, dude, that makes total sense.
Because you could just you can just spend and be like, I want prototypes, but you can spend so much money and then you get these figures that you don't care about, or I don't know, just don't mean anything. And I want to collect with my heart.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I try to do that on all my stuff is collect with stuff that means stuff to me. Because yeah, if you just collect to collect, you're going to have a room full of crap that you don't care about.
So, yeah. And then the other thing, and I've kind of mentioned this before, I want the story of a Black Series figure from start to finish. And that's why I'm looking for that green Han Solo at some point. I'll get that. But other than just Micro Machines and samples and stuff like that. Yeah.
So the Micro Machine stuff is the only stuff you've got pre-production.
Yeah. And I also want to ask a question, because I don't know. We were talking about the standards.
Uh-huh.
On the boxes. At what point of the production is that issued? Is that towards the end where they have pretty much the set in place and they just want to proof the box and make sure it looks good before they send it out?
Yes. So
it's still like a pre-production piece. It's like the last thing they check off before they ship it out and say, yep, this is good to go, mass produce?
Yes.
Okay.
The Kenner standard / Hasbro standard, Hasbro standards is going to be more easily to get available right now just because of the age of them. But it's just the final check of the packaging and the box and make sure everything's the way they want it before they send it off.
That's pretty cool, because I didn't know where that landed as far as production. I'm just grabbing these pieces because they're cool. I don't know what they are. They're Micro Machines. They're pre-production.
That's where, right. As long as they're micro machines in the pre-production, dude, and you can afford it and the wife's not going to make you sleep in your collection room, do it.
Yeah. That wouldn't be the worst punishment. Sleep in a collection room. As long as I don't have to sleep on the floor, I think that would be worse, but yeah.
Yeah, my wife actually told me I'd bought something, or actually right after I bought the Moth Gideon, she's like, I'm never going to get mad at you for buying Star Wars stuff. And I'm like, that's dangerous.
That's love.
You shouldn't tell me that.
Yeah. And then like QC samples. So I have a couple of those pieces. They have stickers on the back that say that they're QC sample. Is that just like pulling it out of the box to make sure that the quality is fine and good and all that?
Basically, yeah. So that you would, I guess you'd have somebody on the production line that would just walk up and open a case and pick something out of it.
Because they do have QC stickers on the back, but they're not like the standard sticker. It's just like a round little piece, maybe 1/4 of an inch round, and it just says QC on it to signify that it was pulled and this is a sample. And those pieces that I have, they're the gift sets and they're just immaculate. They feel like they were just pulled off the store shelves. They're just like no time has passed.
That's awesome.
It's pretty incredible.
Whenever you get stuff that's 20 years old, it looks brand new. It's a good day.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I plan on continuing my collection past May of pre-production micro machines. The thing that I'm really looking for is more vehicles. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of the figures, but the vehicles either are tied up in other people's collections or they're just not readily available as the minifigures. Mm-hmm. But I do have a paint sample, like I mentioned, of the Slave One, the silver version of that coming. But that would be the only vehicle that I have outside of this Imperial shuttle that came with the playset.
And you never know, man. You may get luck out and people may have them and not even realize what they are.
Yeah, they can just wait till May.
Dude, I suspect at ICC you may find something because awesome. Room sales. If you go back and listen to David's podcast, he talks about Anthony bringing just a ton of pre-production stuff to IC for the room sale. And yeah, he does a lot better job talking about it than I do, but I was there, and that's actually where I bought my first pre-production piece. I had no clue what it was, and I had no clue the importance of that moment because that was sort of the first time he had broken everything out, and let, stuff for public consumption. And I had opened a tote up, and there was a Galactic Heroes ghost sitting there. I had no clue what it was. All I knew is it was a ghost, and I had to have it because that's my jam is Rebels. And I bought it and walked away, and kind of every now and again would go back and look at stuff, but I had no clue what I was looking at or the significance of it. But that was my first real forte into pre-production, was that Galactic Heroes Ghost first shot.
Why do you collect the Galactic Heroes prototypes?
I think it's just because they're affordable. Okay. I kind of lucked into them because it's a collection I started for the grandkids, and I had just, like I said, I stumbled upon them. I collect the Rebels run because it's the only place you can find, like the Phantom and the Ghost and the figures. Actually, it's the only time Hasbro ever released a Ghost. Was in the Galactic Heroes line.
Yeah.
So it's sort of just, I stumbled upon them, and I think they're cool. And it's also kind of a niche, like you with your micro machines.
Yeah.
Because not that many people know about them, or not that many people do them. And so I don't have a whole lot of competition in that area. So it makes it a little bit easier where you're not competing with 100 other people for it.
Yeah. Does it have production stampings on the back? Your Ghost?
The Ghost does. The Ghost actually has a tracking number scratched into it. So that makes it a little bit cooler.
Yeah. So that's closer to production, and they want to control where it goes and who logs it out and log it back in to try to track that piece in the warehouse, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It would be like the final step before it went into production. They would go ahead and use the molds and make a toy basically out of those molds and make sure everything fits together properly and works before they okay it to go
So
into
I have
production.
that Jedi temple guard
Uh-huh.
from Rebels carded with the tracking numbers in the back. So is that more of a prototype or is that more of a production sample?
I think it's more of I think it's sort of in between.
Okay.
You're
getting closer to production, but it's still considered a prototype, right?
Right. I would almost put it as like not a quality control and not a Hasbro stand. If I had to, I'm guessing that I would put it like the step past the Hasbro standard. If that makes sense.
Yep.
But I may be wrong.
It might be right before too.
Right.
Who knows?
So it's in that ballpark as a Hasbro standard.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I mean, prototypes are pretty cool to have. They're stories. I think the most interesting thing is when people come over, they're like, how did you get that? Because I think they think those are impossible.
Some of them are, man. But like you said earlier, with the Deal or No Deal, you just got to be in the right place at the right time and have the bank funds.
I'm broke, for the record. I can't say that enough.
Well, and what I love about your piece that Death Star playset is it's more a hard copy than a first shot. So that makes it even cooler because when you've got where the stuff's printed versus being stickers, and they're basically just putting it together to see how it looks before they take it any further.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because that piece could have been sitting on a Galoob. It's a Galoob that was doing it at the time, right?
Yes.
It could have been sitting on the CEO's desk or something. But it could have been an important piece sitting on a lot of important people's desk, or being passed around, or hell, it could have been a toy fair item.
Oh.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what they do because a lot of times they'll do it put a mock-up together for a toy fair, and then it doesn't do good, so it doesn't go anywhere.
That's awesome. I hope to get more. I don't know how rare they are or how available they are. They might be tied up in collections and focus collectors, but I would love to get another place set prototype at some point.
Yeah, it's truthfully just finding out where they are and doing the research, and because people know where they are, because there are a lot of black hole collectors out there.
Yeah. Which means that somebody buys it and then they just hold on to it and people don't know where it is.
Right.
Right.
But there are people that know people that know people that know people, and stuff shakes out every now and again, just like that piece did. So I'm happy you got it because, yeah.
Dude, I this whole week I just I moved my display case. So the vintage stuff, my vintage figures have been moved over to the TV that's further away from the chair that I normally sit in and watch TV. And the prototype micro machines have been moved into the display case closer to where I sit. And I find myself more often than not, my eyes drift over to the pre-production stuff while I'm watching TV, and I just look at that and I listen to the TV. Or I'll get up and I'll walk out the room, but before I walk out the room, I just get close. And there's been a couple times I'm just like, wow. I can't believe that it's part of my collection.
It's an amazing piece, dude. You need to be proud of it. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of that because it is a hard copy. I mean, it's a pretty much certified hard copy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's an awesome piece. I can't wait to see it in person.
So anything else? What more do you want? What are you looking for? I mean, you've kind of mentioned the Phantom, right?
Yeah, the Phantom is my white whale right now. I'm hoping I can find it, but I think they only made it when we were talking about Toy Fair. I think they only made it for Toy Fair, and it never really got into production because at the time Rebel stuff didn't sell good, and so they canceled it because they did that to the Zeb, they did it to the Hera, and they did that to the Sabine figures for that line, and. Yeah, because it was packaged. It was a Hera and the Phantom. It was like a deluxe figure, and they actually had it to where the Phantom fits in the back of the Ghost, and the Ghost opens up. And I hope one day I can find it. and I have the money to make it. But my wife knows that if that ever pops up, it's a credit card purchase for me, because there's no, it will not be asked. I will not ask when that comes up. It'll just be a purchase. It'll be a spur of the moment and boom, buy it. Yeah. Kind of find more pre-production stuff as far as Galactic Heroes goes. Just in general, I want to have a wax mold. I either want a wax mold or a wood sculpt, because I think those are awesome. I had the opportunity to get some Galactic Heroes clay roughs, but stuff just didn't work out. And now that I got the Kit Fisto, right?
Yes.
Now that I've got the Galactic Heroes, it's the newer version of him that I have in first shot or pre-production. But the clay rough was because they made two different versions of the Galactic Heroes. They updated them at one point where they had no articulation, and then they changed them where they had 4 points of articulation in the later run. And the clay rough was of the first run of Galactic Heroes, so there's no really articulation in it, and it just looks like a big mound versus having legs and stuff on it. Maybe I'll make a run at that in a few months, but things didn't work out at the time. And but yeah, I'd love to have a clay mold, wax sculpt, something, a clay sculpt wax mold in the future, just because I think those are cool. Is there anything you're looking at?
No, just more Micro Machines. More, as Kylo Ren says at the end of The Last Jedi, more Micro Machines.
Dude, I love that you've got that focus, man. That's like TK and his 65C Emperor offer run. That's the one thing I wish that's why, because it's like Pops. When you buy them, you never focus on one thing. You just buy everything. And then you look back and say, why do I have this much crap? And then you can focus, on stuff.
I'm glad I was able to figure out my focus early on before I bought just a bunch of prototypes. But I also wanted to say that there's no value in Micro Machines. So if anyone's considering to make a run at Micro Machine prototypes, they're garbage. Like, don't get yourself involved with this trash.
Right. Leave it all for Jason.
Yeah, I'll clean up the trash, people. We have a listener question.
Yes. About time. No.
Yeah, Matthew Hayes asks, love to hear you guys discuss pieces from your collection that held emotional value to you. So we can talk a little bit about what holds emotional value to us.
Yeah.
Which I found to be interesting when I walked around my room to try to figure that out. What did you what has emotional value for you?
If my house was on fire and I could grab anything, I'd probably have to go after my San Diego Comic-Con Fett, because that was the first piece my wife bought for me. Because we were and it was at Toylanta. It was the first Toylanta we'd ever been to together. And she had brought some glowworms in. And it was one of those, she had got them out and, I guess I'll bring them and see if they're valuable, see if somebody's interested in them. And as, we're walking around, she taps me on the shoulder or whatever. And she goes, there's a black box that looks like Boba Fett over there. And, I kind of freaked out. And when they have a San Diego Comic-Con, because this was right when they come out, and the first Black series that they'd done. And so we go over there, we look at it, and I'm talking to the guy, and we kind of, and I'm like, okay, it's too much money. I can't afford it. I don't have the cash for it right now. And the glowworms, the reason the glowworms come into play, she had just sold them to somebody, and she made it like half of what the Fett was worth. And she just hands me the cash and goes, go buy it. So I was able to pick up, I made a good deal with the guy for the Fett. And so that's where, and then we ended up I struck up because they used to own there was a store called Green Door in Chattanooga. So we saw them at every show, and we were able to catch up. And it was a piece he didn't want to sell. So I was able to pry it out of his hands, and it was just a real big history to the piece. So that'd be my number one. And I guess my number two would be trying to make a run for those Galactic Heroes Rebels prototypes. Just because of what they are and
Yeah.
and the story behind those. Because I have a lot of had a lot of help getting them. Just people pointing me in the right direction when they show up on eBay, and one was a gift. So those are second in the if your house was on fire.
Yeah. I didn't look at it that way. I walked around the room and if things are going to be caught on fire, like the things that have emotional value are probably the cheapest pieces in my collection.
Right.
The things that if there was a fire, I'm going for some of those prototype stuff, but
that's why I said the prototype second.
But like I have a collection of like the toy lightsabers, but there's one that's a knockoff lightsaber. And the reason I have that is because at my wedding, my wife and I, we just got married and we're walking into the hall and we're kind of like in a staircase waiting to be introduced as they do to introduce the bride and couple and the groom and all that. And the best men and the groomsmen and the bridesmaids and all that stuff. And the guy comes down and he goes, "So you're walking into this?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, in the Star Wars march?" And I look at my wife and she's like, "Yep."
Nice.
I'm like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "Yep." And so this was a complete surprise to me. We kind of walk up the stairs. I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it. We walk up the stairs and all the groomsmen have lightsabers in their hand, and they kind of have the whole bridge where, they're kind of facing each other and they're holding lightsabers to make like a kind of a triangle shape. And we walked underneath that to be announced, which was incredibly special and a complete surprise. And so I have one of those lightsabers still. So that holds a lot of value. But like I said, it's a knockoff. They probably got it at the dollar store, back in the day. So that's part of my collection. I also have tickets to see the Magic of Myth. It was a Smithsonian at the National Air and Space Museum. It was a whole gallery they had of models from Star Wars and costumes from Star Wars. It was all the original trilogy because this was 1998, right before the prequels came out. This is probably trying to get some buzz and some interest in the prequels because that was right before Episode I came out. But I still have the tickets for that. And my mom and my stepdad and I, we went down to DC for the day, and we were some of the first in there and walking around. So that's got a lot of emotional memory and value to me. And I have those tickets on display. So that's another thing that I think has deep emotional value. And then strangely enough, the Burger King toys from Revenge of the Sith. That was a very exciting time in my life. And I've kind of mentioned this before, but my daughter was being born. My wife worked at Disney. So I would go to Burger King, try to get the full set of those toys. I would go to the Wilderness Lodge at Disney where she worked. We would go to the cast member dining place and we'd eat BK, and I would collect all of the toys from Revenge of the Sith. So that whole process, we're about to have a baby. The last known Star Wars movie was coming out at the time, and I'm getting, BK, and we're going to Disney to eat it. And so there's just a lot of fond memories attached to that toy line, which looked like super deformed figures, the big heads and small bodies. And it was a lot of fun to collect. And so those are some of the things that have a lot of emotional value besides, obviously I have some cards and drawings that my kids made. And so those are the things that I think are connected. It's kind of funny that they're so cheap. It's not anything huge or multi, like the sail barge is $500, but the thing that I'm really attached to are some of the things that are free.
Right. Well, that's what I love about collecting is the stuff that is gifts or stuff that's handmade means the most.
Yeah.
Because going back to my daughter, like 5 or 6 years ago, we had donuts with Dad at her school, and she had made me a "You Are My Stepdad" thing with cards with lightsabers and the Death Star and all that stuff. So it's always floating around. So yeah, it just kind of it's there. Yeah, I hold on to that. So that's probably another piece that means a lot to me.
I have a piece on my desk. It's something my wife made because she's got a silhouette machine, so she's able to cut paper and stuff. And she had a tutorial about how to make like a unfolding box. You take the top off the box and the sides fold down, and then the sides fold open. And so it's just all these different layers, and it's a pretty cool piece that I don't know, many people probably won't even know what it is or never seen one before, but deep inside was the gift card to Galaxy's Edge to make my own lightsaber. So it was a pretty cool piece, but that has a lot of value too. But that's something that, like you were saying, is handmade.
Right. That's awesome. Sorry. You got me said Savvy's lightsaber. Damn it. That gets me every time, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think the show's best when we just have a conversation and not try to force the educational stuff like the prototypes. I think we're kind of stumbling in the beginning, but I think we found our flow.
Right.
So I had a couple more things that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I will be going to Tampa in a couple of weeks, and I'm debating if I want to go all the way to Disney because Coronado Springs was part of the NBA bubble. So the NBA played this past season at Disney World, and they were kind of closed off from the rest of the world. So everybody who stayed inside the bubble was coronavirus free. But I guess LeBron James wanted some whiskey available on Disney property. So there's actually a Knobs Creek, and we were talking about the Star Wars version. There's actually a Walt Disney World Parks Knob Creek of currently available at Coronado Springs. And they have like, it's overstock. I think it's actually cheaper than buying Knobs Creek at their facility. And so I'm debating if I want to drive from Tampa to Orlando to look at that. But the other thing that I want to hit up is the Lakeland Antique Mall, because they have Disney used items from the parks available at the Antique Mall that you can buy, like costumes. They have a flower that was used on the castle itself during one of the celebrations.
I am writing that down right now. Antique Mall.
So I think at the very least, I'm going to make it out there because it's only about 30 minutes from where I'm staying.
Mm-hmm.
I can drive out there. There's a Panera nearby, so I can go get my dinner there. I can check out the Antique Mall. They do have action figures. There's one booth with action figures, but I have to be careful because I'm just taking the suitcase for overnight. You know, I'm not going to check a bag or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So there's only so much I can bring home if I bring home anything. But I will check that out and report back on what I find in a couple weeks with the Toylanta report.
Awesome. I am typing that in right now. I'm trying.
Lakeland Antique Mall, and I think it's Forever Vintage is the name of the booth. But I do know that they had like, I think it's Prince Charming's costume back there. They had a bunch of like, when they remodeled rooms at the resorts, they'll take the pieces and they'll put it on sale. A lot of it's overpriced in my estimation. Like, if I'm going to spend $300 on a table, it better be brand new, not something that a million people have kind of used.
Right.
You know, that's the price of those things.
If on Facebook, there's this thing called Orlando Escape Room or Escape Room, something. It's along those lines. And they do the same thing. They get all this stuff from Disney, used stuff at Disney. And it's one of those crazy things. Like you said, it's $500 for a used table.
We bought a chair from the Grand Floridian, which is a very pretty chair. I don't know if it stands alone as like you would look at it and say, oh, that's from the Grand Floridian. It's just a very pretty chair that we got that was used at the room at one point for like $50. Wow. But that was like 15, 20 years ago almost, I would say. Somewhere between there. Maybe let's cut the difference. It's like 17 years ago.
Yeah. I'm staying. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you're staying on the Tampa end. I'm staying on the Titusville end when I go down there. So
okay. Yeah, I'm just going down for a couple of days to do some work.
Nice.
Then I'll be back. Speaking of Facebook, do you get like remorseful for posting something?
Remorse? What do you mean? Like part of my
you
collection?
Post something and like maybe I shouldn't have posted that and you take it down?
I've only done it maybe once or twice, but
okay. Yeah, I did it this past week.
What happened?
I don't know. I just I felt like I hesitate bringing this up because I don't want it to be like it's nothing big, but I don't know, like, should you not post all of your stuff? And the Empire Group was posting like all of their display cabinets and stuff like that. So I posted my shelves and stuff like that and my display behind me, but then I took it down and I'm like, I don't know if I should be sharing this. And I don't know. I just felt weird posting it. So
I don't know how I feel. I mean, some of my stuff, I'm pretty open when I share my stuff. Maybe I don't need to be, but I don't know. I think that's part of Facebook. But I guess you can either be a collector that shares everything or shares nothing or shares very few things. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I've been careful what I say about pieces, but I haven't posted a piece and then removed it.
I think what happened was I posted it to Instagram too. I was like, if I'm going to post it on Facebook, I might as well post it on Instagram. And then I realized that Instagram was open. My Instagram is open to everyone because I tried, as a writer, I tried to use that to promote writing when I had a book that just came out. So it just stayed open, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to post this to everyone. And I ended up taking it down in both places. I think that's something everyone struggles with is like, should I have posted that? Should I take it down? Yeah. So I don't know. I was just curious what your thoughts were about posting pieces from your display. Like we talked about it a lot on this episode and the previous one, but I haven't posted images of that hard copy yet.
I would wait for the opportunity, I guess, to present itself, maybe on a mail call Monday or, hey, do you got any hard copies if somebody makes a post? But I wouldn't feel weird about posting it.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just my insecurities.
Stop being so damn insecure.
Yeah. Stop caring so much, Jason.
Yeah. Plus, it's also like, you're waving your dick around, look what I got.
Yeah. And that's not me at all. Like, honestly, it's not. That's just not my style.
Yes, I will edit that out.
I'm like anti-look at me. Turn away. Maybe that's part of the reason why I just decided to remove that post.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel too bad. Part because that's part of collecting, because you want to share your joy of having a certain piece with the community. And a lot of them, like you and I talk a lot, but like you were saying, nobody at your house gives a crap that you just bought that hard copy Death Star. And people in the community probably would.
Yeah. Any security issues involved with posting things?
That would be my only issue, is the security issue. People know where I live. It's not that hard to figure out where somebody lives. It's a simple Google search.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the part that stinks about this the world we live in now. Because I was having a conversation with one of the guys I work with, and we had found somebody's address. And all you got to do is Google the address. And if the house was ever for sale, you have images of the inside of the house.
Yeah.
It's a scary world we live in, but I think as long as you know what you're doing, and, just be safe. If you feel safe doing it, do it. If you don't feel safe doing it, don't do it.
Okay. I don't feel safe right now, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Don't look at me, people. Turn away.
Well, then why are you on the podcast? No.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Jason's address is
no, but I think like the podcast is best when we're just talking.
Right.
And so that's why I'm on the podcast.
Right. No, I agree with you. Because like you said, we could force an issue and it feels forced, but then we get over that hump and it goes good.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to Toylanta next week.
Yes.
Then we have a couple Rebels episodes coming up, which I'll have to start my research for.
I can't wait to talk. Y'all going to hear me cry like a little girl again.
We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the show itself, but then in the following week, we're going to talk about the collectibles.
Right.
So I'm going to pull some prices for that.
Awesome.
So we can get a snapshot of where things currently stand with pieces.
It'll be a fun time.
And then we'll do a Toylanta wrap up.
Yep.
An ICC show live.
Yeah. Live at the ICCCC.
And then a wrap up. Yeah, there's too many C's there. That just feels redundant.
Yeah.
It's the Nashville show. And then I have a secret special episode that I'm working on.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to tease that because I don't want people to steal that idea.
Right.
Beat me to it.
We're looking at all the other podcasts out there.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of Star Wars podcasts out there.
I did a search on Spotify and there was so many we didn't even come up.
That's encouraging.
There were like 10 pages and we never even came up. But looking at the stats, we don't get that many listeners. I may be the only person that listens to us on Spotify.
Yeah, I listen to us on iTunes.
Yeah. So if you do listen to us on iTunes, please rate us.
Rate us and leave a review and let us know that you love us, because I'm insecure and I need to know.
Yes.
And I saw that James Arnold Taylor will be up at ICCC.
Nice.
So maybe I can ask him to say, "You're listening to the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi."
That Daniel Logan will be there. I wonder if they're going to charge us for that.
I don't know. Probably.
The best story I've got of Daniel Logan is we were up there last IC. He was up there, and the club had made some labels to put on Jack Daniel's whiskey airplane bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it made, they were made to look like Georgia. They were Georgia Alliance. We totally stole the Jack Daniel's logo, like hundreds of other people have.
Mm-hmm.
And we hand him one, and he opens it up and he's like, "Did you guys make this?" We're like, "Yeah, we did, totally." So he opens it up and starts like tasting it like a real taste whiskey. And he's like, "This stuff's pretty good." And we're like, "Dude, it's Jack Daniel's, man." Just
yeah, we don't have a moonshine business down at the back of our houses.
So he was, yeah. Oh,
but you only gave that to a few select people. Most people just got the sticker.
Right. Well, no, it's like we had given, it was swag, but we had kind of saved it. We weren't going to give it to a 15-year-old and say, here's some whiskey.
Yeah. Just to be safe.
Right. It was an after hours swag piece. But yes, we had the sticker we were handing out. We had patches, and it was cool. It was, and then one of the guys was running around with, we also had flask made. And one of the guys was running around giving people flask taste and getting pictures. So probably won't do that this year.
No. With the pandemic, that's not recommended. I would avoid sharing germs at all costs right now.
Yeah, I would even before the pandemic, I was like, ooh. But hey.
I don't even like sharing soda from my wife. Like, it's tainted the second she drinks out of it. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, Jason. Don't be that way.
Yeah, Jason, you have 3 kids with her. You do more than share soda. It's okay if you share soda with her.
Anyways, what was I saying? I was going to say something else. Oh, I'm working on the Georgia Alliance sign this week for the table.
That's awesome. That looks great. And
I'm testing a microphone for my camera. Like, I think if we wanted to interview people, like if somebody stops by the booth and we want to quick interview for YouTube, I think I have like a wired mic. It would just have to be like a news report where you're just handing the mic back and forth between the speaker and the interviewer.
Right.
Maybe I'll get like a 6-foot-long pole to attach it to and just put it up
like
to
NASCAR.
Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, Toyland is going to be awesome.
Looking forward to it. I got to buy my tickets.
Yeah, I got to buy my wife a ticket. So I'll probably do that later this afternoon.
Yeah.
So, Jason, where can everybody find you on the Gram and Facebook?
Yeah, just go to Wasulko, wasulko.com, and there you can find all that information, how to find me on social media.
Yep, you can find me on Instagram at Cajun Fett. You can find us at Smugglers Galaxy on Facebook. You can email us, smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Please write us, review us, listen to us, tell your friends about us. So yeah, this thing can grow. It's incredible. Thanks everybody who listened to us ramble for an hour about Star Wars, hour and a half about Star Wars. And yeah, thanks for the reviews. Thanks for the questions. Keep them coming. This is the way.
This is the way.